There is a growing realization spreading across the world right now. Our reliance on the traditional grid, the massive centralized systems that deliver our power and our water, is a profound vulnerability. When the grid goes down due to a severe storm, an aging infrastructure, or a rolling blackout, our modern lives instantly grind to a halt. We are completely dependent, and for a rapidly growing number of people, that dependence is no longer acceptable. People are dreaming of cutting the cord. They want absolute sovereignty over their basic needs. But building an off-grid home is not a simple weekend project. You cannot just buy a piece of land in the wilderness, build a standard suburban house, and expect a few solar panels to magically run your central air conditioning. To live off-grid successfully, you have to completely rethink architecture. You have to build a house that actively works with the environment rather than constantly fighting against it. And that is exactly why the Dogtrot House has become the absolute gold standard for the modern off-grid homesteader. Today, we are going to dive deep into the mechanical heartbeat of the off-grid dogtrot. We are going to look past the beautiful aesthetics and break down the brutal, fascinating realities of self-reliance. We will explore how the historic architecture drastically reduces your energy needs, how to size a bulletproof solar and battery system, the exact science of harvesting and purifying rainwater, and how to manage your waste when there are no city sewers. If you have ever dreamed of total independence, grab a notepad. You are about to learn how to become your own utility company. Before you ever look at a solar panel or buy a generator, you have to understand the most brutal law of off-grid living. Generation is expensive. Conservation is cheap. Every single watt of power you need to generate requires expensive solar panels, heavy wiring, and massive lithium batteries. Therefore, the ultimate goal of an off-grid home is to require as little energy as possible to remain comfortable. This is where the genius of the Dogtrot layout shines. Born in the American South over 2 centuries ago, this layout consists of 2 separate, enclosed living spaces, or pavilions, connected by a large, open-air breezeway, all covered under one continuous roof. In a traditional modern home, the HVAC system, the heating and cooling, makes up nearly 50% of the total energy consumption. It is a massive, power-hungry monster. The Dogtrot design attacks this energy load directly. The central breezeway acts as a passive cooling engine. Because it is deeply shaded by the heavy roof, the air inside the breezeway is cooler than the surrounding air. As hot air naturally rises outside, it creates a vacuum that pulls a constant, shaded breeze straight through the center of the house. By opening windows and doors that face this breezeway, you can naturally ventilate the 2 enclosed living pavilions. For many off-grid homeowners, this passive ventilation completely eliminates the need for air conditioning during the spring, the early summer, and the autumn. Furthermore, you are only insulating and conditioning the 2 smaller enclosed pavilions. The large central breezeway provides massive square footage for dining, entertaining, and relaxing, but because it is unconditioned space, it requires absolutely zero electricity to heat or cool. You are getting the lifestyle of a massive home on the energy budget of a tiny house.
Once you have utilized the architecture to reduce your energy load, it is time to build your power plant. Welcome to the world of off-grid solar. Let me be incredibly clear. Off-grid solar is entirely different from the grid-tied solar panels you see in suburban neighborhoods. A grid-tied system just feeds power back to the utility company. If the utility grid goes down, a grid-tied solar system automatically shuts off. An off-grid system is an independent island. It consists of 4 major components: the photovoltaic panels, the charge controllers, the battery bank, and the inverter. First, the panels and the controllers. Your solar array is the engine. The massive, continuous, single-ridge gable roof of a Dogtrot house provides an incredible amount of surface area for solar panels. Ideally, your roof should be pitched and oriented directly toward the southern sky, if you are in the northern hemisphere, to capture maximum sunlight. The energy captured by these panels is sent down thick cables to an MPPT, a maximum power point tracking charge controller. This device is the brain of the charging system. It optimizes the voltage coming from the roof and safely pushes it into your batteries. Second, the battery bank. This is the heart of your home. The sun does not shine at night, and it barely shines during a week-long winter blizzard. Your batteries are what keep your lights on, your refrigerator cold, and your water pump running when the sky goes dark. Today, the standard for off-grid living is the lithium iron phosphate, or Li-Fi-4, battery. Gone are the days of heavy, toxic, dangerous lead-acid batteries that required constant maintenance and venting. Lithium batteries are safe. They can be discharged almost completely without being damaged, and they can easily last for over a decade of daily use. How many do you need? That is calculated by your days of autonomy. A well-designed off-grid dog trot should have a battery bank large enough to run the house for a minimum of 3 to 4 days with absolutely zero sunlight. Third, the inverter. Your batteries store power as direct current, or DC, but your television, your microwave, and your well pump require alternating current, or AC. The inverter is the heavy-duty transformer that converts battery power into the usable standard 120-volt and 240-volt electricity that powers your wall outlets. And finally, the ultimate safety net, the backup generator. No matter how massive your solar array is, there will come a week in the dead of winter where the snow covers the panels, the clouds are thick, and the batteries run low. Every true off-grid system requires a backup propane or diesel generator wired directly into the inverter. When the batteries drop to 20%, the inverter automatically fires up the generator, powers the house, and recharges the batteries simultaneously.
Even with the brilliant passive cooling of the Dogtrot Breezeway, there will be days when the heat is unbearable, and nights when the winter cold is dangerous. You must have active climate control. But traditional central HVAC systems draw massive surges of electricity that will instantly drain an off-grid battery bank. The solution for the modern off-grid Dogtrot is a two-pronged approach: high SEER mini-splits and the modern wood stove. Let's look at the mini-split system. Unlike a central AC unit that uses a massive power-hungry compressor to blast cold air through leaky ductwork in the attic, a mini-split is a hyper-efficient, ductless system. You install one air-handling unit in the living pavilion and a separate one in the sleeping pavilion. The magic of modern mini-splits lies in their inverter-driven compressors. Instead of turning on at 100% power and then slamming off, which creates a massive electrical surge, an inverter compressor slowly ramps up. It draws a tiny, steady trickle of power to perfectly maintain the temperature. During the peak summer heat, when your solar panels are producing massive amounts of excess energy, you can run these mini-splits virtually for free. But what about the deep winter? Heating with electricity, even with a highly efficient heat pump, is incredibly difficult in an off-grid scenario because winter is exactly when you have the least amount of sunlight to charge your batteries. This is why the traditional cast-iron wood-burning stove remains the undisputed king of off-grid winter survival. Wood is stored solar energy. By placing a high-efficiency, EPA-certified wood stove centrally in your main living pavilion, you completely decouple your winter heating from your electrical system. Modern wood stoves are engineering marvels. Through a process called secondary combustion, they burn the smoke itself before it escapes the chimney. This means they produce massive amounts of radiant heat with very little wood, and they leave virtually no creosote buildup. The heavy stone hearth beneath the stove acts as a thermal mass, absorbing the heat of the fire during the day and slowly radiating it back into the pavilion throughout the freezing night. If power is the heartbeat of the off-grid home, water is the lifeblood. While some remote properties have access to a deep underground well, drilling a well is incredibly expensive, and sometimes the water table simply isn't there. But if you look up, you have the ultimate solution. A massive, continuous metal roof is essentially a giant, hyper-efficient funnel. Welcome to the science of rainwater catchment. The math behind rainwater harvesting is staggering. For every 1 inch of rain that falls on a 2,000 square foot roof, you can capture over 1,200 gallons of water. In areas with even moderate rainfall, a properly designed dog-trot roof can easily capture enough water to sustain a family year-round. But capturing it is only the first step. You have to keep it clean. When rain hits your roof, it washes away dust, leaves, bird droppings, and pollen. You cannot let that debris enter your drinking water supply. To prevent this, off-grid systems use a brilliant mechanical device called a first flush diverter. When it begins to rain, the first several gallons of dirty water flowing off the roof are diverted into a separate vertical PVC pipe. Once that pipe fills up, capturing all the initial debris, a floating ball seals it off. Only the subsequent perfectly clean rainwater is allowed to flow horizontally into your main storage tank. Your storage tank, the cistern, must be massive. We are talking 5,000 to 10,000 gallons, typically made of opaque food-grade polyethylene to block sunlight and prevent algae growth.
From the cistern, a 12-volt or 120-volt DC water pump pulls the water into the house, providing standard household water pressure. But before it reaches your faucet, it must go through a rigid multi-stage purification wall. First, the water passes through a 50-micron sediment filter to remove tiny particles of sand or dirt. Next, it goes through a 5-micron activated carbon block, which completely removes any strange odors, tastes, or organic compounds. Finally, as the absolute last line of defense, the water passes through a high-intensity ultraviolet or UV light chamber. The UV light instantly neutralizes any bacteria, viruses, or pathogens that might have survived the journey. The result is water that is softer, cleaner, and purer than almost any municipal city tap water on Earth.
Heating water is traditionally one of the most energy-intensive tasks in any home. A standard electric resistance water heater has massive heating coils that draw over 4,000 watts of power. If that kicks on while you are off-grid, your batteries will drain incredibly fast. To solve this, Off-Grid Dogtrot homes utilize two distinct strategies. The primary strategy is the heat pump water heater. This is a brilliant piece of technology. Instead of using raw electricity to generate heat, it uses a tiny amount of electricity to operate a refrigeration cycle in reverse. It literally pulls ambient heat out of the air in your utility room, compresses it, and transfers that heat into the water tank. They are up to 4 times more efficient than a standard electric heater. Many off-grid experts set their heat pump water heaters on a timer. They program the tank to only heat the water during the absolute peak of the afternoon sun, say between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. This ensures that the energy required to heat the water comes directly from the solar panels, bypassing the batteries entirely. The tank then acts as a thermal battery, holding that hot water for your evening shower. The secondary strategy, and a crucial backup, is the tankless propane water heater. Because a heat pump water heater recovers slowly, you might run out of hot water if you have multiple guests staying over. A tankless propane heater sits on the exterior wall of the Dogtrot breezeway. It uses zero electricity and only burns propane the exact second you turn on the hot water tap. It provides an endless supply of hot water, acting as the perfect failsafe for cloudy weeks or heavy usage.